All right. And we're live. Hello. Welcome to episode 4 of the Ramen Shop Radio. If you want to talk about games, movies, anime, anything under that banner,
Pop culture.
Yep, you've come to the right place. I'm your host, Joseph Ferrer, and with me I have
William.
And oh my gosh. Messed it up already. Just come in. Oh my gosh. He's back from the dead. Welcome back, Elijah.
That was miserable.
Dude, yeah, we totally messed that up. I think that's more than 10 seconds. Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Elijah. You weren't with us last week, but you are now.
So would you like me to explain why I wasn't there last week?
Hence to be continued last episode.
Yes.
Yeah. Pretty much. I downloaded the Colonel Sanders game, and I was so obsessed with it that I could not leave my room for an entire week until I 100% completed the game.
And how was it?
Life-changing.
Great to hear.
You guys hear about the Wendy's D&D game now?
Oh yeah.
I didn't hear about this. What is Wendy's doing now?
Wendy's literally made a tabletop RPG,
Mm-hmm.
and they got Critical Role to play it. If you don't know what Critical Role is, it's voice actors, like famous ones like Matt Mercer,
Really?
Laura Bailey, yeah,
McCree.
and they got them to play the Wendy's RPG.
Matt Mercer
That's
also
hysterical.
voiced Joseph Joestar.
He
correct?
did.
It was. I thought it was Jotaro.
He voiced a lot of characters on
He
that show,
does
I think.
voice a lot of people.
I think it was Jotaro.
Yeah,
My
it
mistake.
might have been Joe.
My favorite thing from Matt
Got it,
Mercer
got it.
was always Fire Emblem Warriors, because you can have the support conversations between two different people. So there's one between Crom and Ryoma, and they're both voiced by
Oh.
Matt Mercer. So I just imagine Matt Mercer talking into a booth to himself for 5 minutes, and it's hysterical. Anyways, we're not talking about Matt Mercer today. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about.
Wait, this isn't the Matt Mercer themed episode?
No, it's not the Matt Mercer.
Next week? That's next week. Oh man, I messed up my notes.
How hard would it be to get Matt Mercer on the show? Probably pretty hard.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah.
let's start off. We're going to skip microwave review because there's just a lot to talk about with the news.
Yeah,
But
we can
before
talk
that,
about
we're going to have the coming up section where we're going to talk about stuff that we're looking forward to that's coming up in the next few weeks or months or millennia. So, Will, why don't you start us off?
Okay, so if you follow Dungeons and Dragons, you would know that they put out this thing called Unearthed Arcana, which is basically like playtest material, and they've been putting out a lot of it recently. Most notably, I want to talk about first is the I think it's called the Wild Magic Barbarian, or well, that's what everyone's referring it to. Basically, it's the Wild Magic Sorcerer, which has all of its 100 random effects into a barbarian. Whenever you rage, you would roll on a table, and that guarantees you some random positive effect. There's a bunch of like other crazy stuff too, like the ability to use the spell Detect Magic, and then your skin changes color based on what it is. It's really
Okay.
bizarre.
Bizarre.
Adventure.
That is a good segue into the Monk, which is basically a JoJo subclass. It's called Astral Self.
It's a lot like Astral Chain, which is also a JoJo reference.
Well, yeah. Astral Self, you basically have like your spiritual projection, and that's it's very
stand.
similar to
Yeah.
Stand.
it's very similar to what you would consider a stand.
Cool.
And it only gets more broken the more you level up, because it's 100% based on one stat, whereas every other subclass is always between like Dex, Wisdom, etc. Yeah, it's 100% based on Wisdom, and whenever you get a kill in that class while in your astral form, you get 10 key points back. So you're just basically never running out of your class resource.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, I don't play D&D, but that does sound like a lot of fun.
I'm sorry, what?
I don't play D&D.
It was right
That's
there.
not because I don't want to, but because like I haven't sat down and had the proper chance to.
Listen, we're gonna have a chance to
Well,
do that soon.
Mhm.
Because I'm starting a campaign, you will
Ooh.
have a chance to.
Ooh.
Speaking of
We can
JoJo
talk.
characters in D&D, quick shout out to Nick Fisher if you're watching this. He was my dungeon master, and I created the most overpowered paladin in his game. I had an insane amount of health. I could attack twice with an insanely powerful sword. I had a whole bunch of spells and stuff that could give me an armor class of 20, which is very overpowered. And to make myself. By the way, the max amount of damage I could deal in one turn if I rolled the maximum highest number on every single roll was about 150.
All right, so I don't play D&D, so give that into perspective. What's
you know,
it, what, like,
you know, an
normally?
angel.
Mhm.
See, when you really piss off your DM gives you an angel. You
Okay.
don't defeat angels. You can
Yeah,
theoretically
solars are
can defeat an angel,
ridiculous.
but you'll never defeat an angel. I could one shot the weakest angel, which is, even though it's the weakest angel, it's still
Deva.
pretty strong. And so I made a deal with the devil per se, and I decided to make my character even more overpowered
I don't agree with what your DM did with this as the dumbest thing I've ever heard somebody do.
by giving me the ability to stop time.
Like time stop isn't that good.
So
of a
we're
spell.
just the world
Time
now.
stop is a great spell if
No.
you know how to use it.
Yeah, I know, but it's not really a good spell on its own, and it's still a 9th level spell. I don't know what he was thinking.
See, the thing is, I can't really talk about it on the radio show. I'll tell you guys after.
Yeah, you told
Yeah.
me about it
But
already.
there was a deal. I gave up, I believe, 3 of my armor class points, so my armor class is now 16. And I also gave up something else.
Which you can't talk about.
Yeah, I'll tell.
All right.
I think that's what I did. But yeah. So I bought a whole bunch of throwing knives and grenades, and I've become.
You were
Dio.
literally Dio.
I'm literally Dio, but with grenades.
Nice. You got to get a road roller though. Just find a massive road roller.
Well, our campaign's set in the Wild West, so maybe
Okay.
just like a wagon.
you can use a tractor.
Yeah, you can use a track.
Were tractors in the Wild West?
Nah, it's
No.
like a horse-drawn
You
wagon.
get a horse.
Yeah,
Throw a horse into somebody.
That could do some damage.
Just a little bit.
I could be like Jack the Ripper from Part 1. You just hide
Yeah.
inside a horse.
All right. Well, what I'm looking forward to, I just bought my tickets for One Piece Stampede, which premieres later this month in October. I'm a huge One Piece fan. I'm not entirely caught up, but I've seen a couple of the One Piece movies before, and they're great. So I'm going to see it with another big One Piece friend of mine, and it's going to be a good time. This movie beat Endgame when it first came out, like back in
Wow.
April. That's how
Jesus.
big One Piece is in Japan. It's massive. Like, if you visited Japan, I haven't, but like I've heard from people who have that One Piece is everywhere. So that's what I'm excited about. What I'm also excited to talk about is going into the news. Let's start off with Joker becoming the highest grossing movie premiere in the month of October in history, with $93.5 million made, beating Venom, which previously had give me 1 second.
We live in a society.
80.3 million. Yeah. So I saw Joker. Elijah has seen Joker.
I have not.
William
seen
has
Joker.
not seen Joker. We'll keep this no spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, don't worry. We'll only talk about generals. Don't go into story specifics. But walking out of that theater was unlike any experience I've had before of a movie. That was nuts.
I walked out of that theater just like with whiplash from
Mhm.
how good of a film it was.
Yeah.
Like, I've heard people say that it was a masterpiece and all that, and I thought, like, I didn't know what I was expecting. Like, I thought I was gonna be like watching, like, a Marvel movie just
Mhm,
without the superhero, just like, the villain has this huge plan to
Mhm.
blow up the city and all that.
Mhm.
But it was such a completely different film that it completely blew my expectations out of the water.
I'm glad you brought up the Marvel comparison, because I would say I'm a huge Marvel fan.
Yeah.
I love all the movies, but I will admit in a heartbeat that a lot of the movies do feel kind of the same.
Yeah.
This movie proves that a comic book superhero movie can be so much more
Than a
than
comic book thing.
like what most superhero movies are. Even with DC's been on like a good streak lately with their movies.
Surprisingly.
Yeah.
With
Wonder
Aquaman
Woman, Aquaman.
and Shazam. And even though I really, really like Aquaman and Shazam, I will admit they do feel like Marvel movies in
Yeah.
terms of like how they're told
Well,
and the humor
Aquaman-
behind them. But
Aquaman, I felt was a little different, but Shazam definitely felt like a Marvel movie.
yeah, but this is just unsettling, depressing, and just so well directed and choreographed. And oh my gosh, fantastic movie.
Yeah, it was
Joaquin
just-
Phoenix is a legend.
I already did it pretty differently from Heath Ledger, but it
Mhm.
worked in its own way.
Yeah.
Like, in my opinion, no one's ever gonna, like, before I saw this movie, I thought, okay, no one's ever gonna be as good of a Joker as Heath Ledger. Heath Ledger's up here, Joaquin Phoenix is right here. They're both amazing Jokers.
And Jared Leto is
They
all the way
just-
down here.
Yeah. They just play completely different Jokers.
Yeah. But this
But-
one is
but they're
just-
both amazing.
Man. Again, not to go too much into specifics. We're not going to. But definitely go see it if you haven't seen it already.
Yeah.
Fantastic movie. Maybe
Just-
we'll do. Maybe if you ever see it, we'll do, or like one day when you're not here, sometime in next month, we'll do a spoiler cast on it.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. 'Cause they
Just
have a
like
lot to talk about. That's another thing with it too.
One quote from the movie, two quotes from the movie that
Mhm.
I absolutely love. Well, one's just like really sad, but also kind of true. It's like the one, the worst part about having a
Yep.
mental illness
Mhm.
is that society expects you to behave like you don't.
Mm-hmm.
That was so sad to read.
Mm-hmm.
And also when he says, this isn't a spoiler, by the way.
Yeah.
I
It's
used
a
to
tragedy.
think my life
Yep.
was a tragedy. Now I
Don't-
realize it's a something comedy.
Yeah.
That also was really sad.
I think the thing I loved most about the movie was how open to interpretation it is.
Yeah.
And again, I won't say why, but I love talking to people about the movie because of how people view certain things differently. Like you're given like the pieces and you're
You have to put it
expected
together.
to put it together. It puts some of them together for you, but there's a lot that you have to figure out on your own. And
The amount of plot twists in that movie
Yeah.
was just
M. Night Shyamalan.
better.
mhm.
But the plot twist actually makes sense.
Oh, of
Yeah.
course.
It's not like, oh, this entire time you were the ghost,
No.
or this entire time you were the time traveler in the future.
Yeah, I get
like,
it.
no, the plot twist actually makes sense,
Mhm.
and it adds so much to the movie.
So yeah, Joker was great. Definitely go see it if you haven't seen it yet. But now I want to get into some breaking news. This news just broke this morning that Sony has officially announced the PlayStation 5. Like we've heard rumors about it, but this is the first time they're being completely open about it.
Yeah.
This is the
Yeah.
PlayStation 5, and we've got a bunch of details about it. So first off, I'll now go through. This is all provided through Sony themselves, the details. It's releasing holiday 2020 next year.
Okay,
So that's extremely close.
they've probably been working on this for
Is
a
it
while.
just me, or
Yeah.
do I feel like consoles are having shorter lifespans these days?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I mean, it's hard.
Nintendo's always been good with that,
Yeah,
though.
they've done that, but like
Yeah.
I just feel like in general console lifespans have really started declining.
It's hard to
Yeah.
compare because the last major lifespan was the 360 PS3, which lasted almost a decade,
Yeah, exactly.
which is extremely long.
Both those consoles were just
Yeah. So it's hard to say like if it was a long life cycle or not because that one was so long. But
That's a good point.
yeah, regardless, it's going to use 100 gigabyte Blu-ray discs when PS3 and PS4 was 50. So that's a lot
That's
of data.
impressive.
You're gonna have to install 100 gigabytes of games soon. Mm-hmm. Faster load times streaming due to the new SSD. So you're gonna be able to stream your games faster, stream
Is there going
online.
to be more storage?
We don't know, but
I hope there
assuming
is.
assuming it's like the PS4, you'll be able to connect the terabyte,
Yeah, I know.
an
but,
extra external hard drive
like
to it.
before I had one of those, I literally had to delete. I had 4 PS4 games.
Mhm.
Whenever I would get a new one, I have to delete one of them.
Yeah. So it's backwards compatible with the PS4 though.
Oh, really?
So you won't have to use your PS4 if you
completely
get a PS5.
backwards compatible.
They say backwards compatible, but we're
Uh,
not sure if they mean something like how Xbox One was backwards
Yeah, one
compatible
of-
for
one of,
specific
like,
games.
The most disappointing parts of the PS4 was that you couldn't play PS3 games on it.
Yeah.
At least to me.
It was really annoying, especially when PS3 games would still be listed on the stores.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that was annoying. But not only is it backwards compatible with PS4, it's also VR compatible, which is super
Ooh.
exciting to me because I own a PSVR and I love that thing to death. Beat Saber.
I'm
Super
probably gonna
hot.
buy an Oculus Rift soon, or
Mhm.
not soon, but like, cause I have no money.
If you
Imagine
buy
having
any
money.
headset, play Beat Saber. That game is incredible.
I played it. My high school had, like, after we graduated, this thing called Project Graduation, where
Mhm.
we spend the entire night until 7 a.m. the next day in the school gym and school cafeteria, just having fun. They had like bouncy houses, stuff like that.
And they had Beat Saber
Um,
there.
They had a VR station with Beat Saber, and you know the crab rave.
Yeah, it's on it. They added
I-
that as a April Fool's joke.
I played. Me and my friend Chris, aka Vinny Carwash, who I shout out at the end of every episode. Me and him spent a good hour going back and forth trying to get a high score.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I go hard in that game trying to get the high scores, like because I love rhythm games. So
I'm awful
yeah.
at those.
and so a rhythm game where I can essentially move my whole body towards it, like it's great. I love it. But anyways, so you'll be able to play Beat Saber on PS5, and the UI will be faster, which thank goodness because it takes so long to even like load between menus, and it always got really annoying with the PS4.
Yeah, that reminds me. Didn't Microsoft say that the Xbox One
Scarlet.
or isn't was
The
it
new
new
one's
one?
The Scarlet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Didn't they say the new one that there's gonna be no load times? on
They
it?
did, but we'll see if that actually happens.
A lot of
Who
the
knows?
things they're promising with the Scarlet seem very unbelievable.
Yeah.
But like as someone who plays a lot of like GTA, Fallout, Skyrim, those kind of games
Yeah.
where load times are huge.
So speaking of
Mhm.
Skyrim, do you think we're gonna get a PS5 Xbox Scarlet port of Skyrim?
Oh, you already know it.
Who knows?
Todd Howard, you
Skyrim
absolute
5.
madman.
Skyrim 5. Anyways, that's not the only news. There's a lot of news about the PS5. So let's go into the controller. It uses Type-C USB cable. Thank goodness. The Switch uses it. Most Samsung phones use it. So it's quickly becoming standard. They have a new feature called the adaptive trigger. And I'll read off the product description of it. There are two key innovations with the PlayStation 5's new controller. First, we're adopting haptic feedback to replace the rumble technology found in controllers since the 5th generation. With haptics, you'll be able to feel a broader range of feedback, so crashing into a wall in a car race feels much different than tackling on a football field. You can even get a sense for the variety of textures when running through fields of grass or plodding through mud. The second innovation is something we call adaptive triggers, which have been incorporated into the trigger buttons, which is the L2 and the LR. R2, LR, L2, yeah. Developers can program the resistance of the triggers so you can feel the tactile sensation of drawing a bow and arrow or accelerating on an off-road vehicle through rocky terrain. In combination with the haptics, this can produce a powerful experience that simulates various actions like we had never before. Game creators who have started to receive early versions of the new controller, and we can't wait to see where their imagination goes with these new features at their disposal. So to me, this sounds like a mix between the HD Rumble of the Nintendo Switch alongside the analog triggers of the GameCube controller, where if you don't remember, through games like Mario Sunshine or Luigi's Mansion, the more you press down on the trigger, that was terrible. The trigger, the more like water you would shoot out if you're playing Mario Sunshine, or the more the vacuum would suck up stuff.
I have
in
one
Luigi's
problem
Mansion.
with this controller
Yes.
description.
Mhm.
So I play a lot of Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
So both my PS4 controllers, the R1 button is very, very set in.
No, well, that's the bumper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it would technically be a different controller, so
Yeah.
you wouldn't have to
Hopefully
worry
they
about
fix
that. But yeah, the controller sounds extremely nice from what they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm-
it
So
does
they're
sound really
completely
cool.
getting rid of the old Rumble.
Old Rumble is
That is a
gone,
little
and it sounds a
upsetting.
lot like HD Rumble, which
Can
I'm
we
all
just-
for. I love HD Rumble on Switch.
Can we just have like a few seconds of silence?
Yeah.
Yes, F in the chat.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I mean, like honestly, like I love the Rumble. Like Xbox 360 had it. Like all those controllers had it,
Yeah,
and
I
it's
never
sad to
turned
see it
it
go.
on.
But at the same time,
If it's like for this,
yeah, I used to take apart like Xbox One and PS4 controllers to fix them because I had a lot of friends who like the controllers would get like stuck or the
Mhm.
sticks would drift, and I would take it apart for them and fix it.
That's awesome.
And it was always the Rumble that ended up breaking the controller because if a screw's loose, if the controller is shaking,
the Rumble was drawn.
yeah.
Mhm.
So like I'm out of a job now because I can't fix controllers anymore. But at the same time,
Well, it's
yeah,
not all bad because the controller also has a larger capacity battery, so it's going to have more battery life. It's heavier than a DualShock right now, but lighter than an Xbox controller to give you a feel of how heavy it's going to be. It also has new speakers too, which not many games use the speakers, but a couple of them did, and mostly in the launch titles they use them, like
yeah,
Bravely
Killzone
Rush 1.
Shadowfall had like a really creepy audio log system.
Yeah,
kind of reminds me of like Infamous.
yeah.
The most
Horizon
recent one.
Zero Dawn is probably the last game I played that actually used it. Like whenever you would scan stuff, you could hear the speaker would actually speak to you. And it was always weird because whenever you heard it, like it would be like, wait, that's not coming from the TV. Oh, someone's actually using this thing.
Yeah.
I remember when I was like 13, 14 years old playing
Mhm.
Killzone Shadowfall for the first time. I found an audio log of this dying guy, and it was like of him dying.
Mhm.
And I got so uncomfortable because even if I paused the game, it would keep going, and it went on for like a whole 2 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never
So-
pick up audio logs in that game if you ever plan on playing it again.
I just hope they keep the audio jack on
Yeah.
the DualShock 4 because that's one of my favorite features of all time. Like a headphone jack in the controllers, you can just hear from that instead of having to use the speakers. Fantastic. Anyways, let's keep going down. So yeah, they're fixing how not fixing, but changing how installs work. So if you want to install the single player of a game instead of just the multiplayer, you can do that. So let's say in order to save space. So let's say you're playing it through a single player game that has a multiplayer aspect too. You beat the single player and you don't want to keep that on your taking space up anymore. you can just delete that part of the game, but keep everything you need to play multiplayer, and just play a multiplayer from then.
That's
Save the
interesting.
space.
It's all
I
on
like
one
that.
disc.
Yeah, assuming so. Let's see. The optical drive doubles as a 4K player, so it's going to have 4K support, and it also supports up to 8K gaming, which modded. We don't even
I
have
don't even have that.
8K screens yet.
Yeah.
So they're like future-proofing this almost, which is extremely impressive. But it also brings up the question of how much this is going to cost.
Yeah, it sounds a little pricey.
Yeah, because if you remember back in the PS3, one of the big
was
faults was
incredibly
that it was
expensive.
so expensive at the time compared to everything else, and that's why it didn't do well at launch at all. But we also have a little bit of details of people making games on it. So Bluepoint is the developers behind the remake of Shadow of the Colossus, is currently developing a big game, quote unquote, and many studios also already have access to the dev kit.
Let's hope it's better than Last Guardian.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's weird because I'm looking forward to the PS5, but I didn't pick up a PS4 until like 2-3 years after it came out. And that's mainly because there wasn't a lot to play on it at launch outside of the first party offerings. Once we got third party stuff and developers actually started making games for it, it was great.
There's also
But
stuff
how long is that going to take for the PS5?
There's also stuff like Bloodborne that came out.
Yeah. There was a couple of great third party games, but it didn't come out like way later. Like
one of the reasons I got my Xbox One was Halo 5, Titanfall, Master Chief Collection.
Those all sound like very disappointing.
Halo, okay,
Yeah.
honestly, Halo 5 multiplayer was amazing. The graphics were amazing. The campaign was not as good as the old ones, but it was still a fun campaign. There were some missions that were really fun on it.
Yeah.
Halo Master Chief Collection was amazing.
Now it's amazing.
But also
Yeah.
Dark Souls 3.
Dark Souls 3 was great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As I already said, I played a lot of it.
Mhm.
On my main character, I have like 200 something hours.
Jesus.
So, yeah, I will say this. I usually don't buy consoles at launch unless it's a very specific occasion. But I will say it right here for the records. If Spider-Man 2 is a launch title for the PS5, I'm buying a PS5 day one. I'm saying it right here. That's the only way you're going to get me to buy
Did they
this
leave room
console
for
day
a
one.
sequel?
Oh, yeah, they did.
I never played it.
It's a
I just kinda
fantastic
skipped out
game,
of
but
it.
they absolutely left room
That
for a sequel.
ending.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's part 1 of the Ramen Shop Radio, episode 4. So we'll be back really quickly for part 2. So check that out. We will go over more news that we have because there's a lot of news.
Wait, we do 2 parts now?
We're
Yeah.
doing 2 parts. now.
Damn, I missed one episode and I'm like so far behind.
All right.